Hi everyone, it's Jess here and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is having so much vintage vibe as I have been affected a lot recently. I'm going to transform a main pants into a short and a skirt. Here's the pants before the transformation. You need to have a big size pants to have more fabric for these DIYs. Firstly, I'm measuring the length of the short I want, and it's 40 centimeters. So I marked at 43 centimeters, which is 3 centimeters extra. However, you also need to check the length of the rest fabric to make sure it has to be longer than a half of your hip size, so you can have enough fabric to make the skirt later. After cutting, I turn the short inside and draw two lines at the left. One line is 1.5 centimeters and another line is 5 centimeters from the end of the left. I fold the end of the left to the first line, then folding it to the second line. Use the pins to hold the last folding and sewing. Move to the top of the short. I unsew the waistband first, then unsew the front fold later. I'm checking the width of the original pants to know how much fabric I will fold in later, and it's 24 centimeters. So I make 2 folds at the left and 2 folds at the right of the front short. Each fold will be 6 centimeters. I sew around 4 centimeters down from the top of each fold to keep it there. After that, I fold the top of the pockets to the new front waistline I just created. No matter how much fabric you will fold in, just need to make sure the final width of the front have to be a half of your waist size. Moving to the back of the short, I unsew the seam at the cross first. Then I mark the new width of the back to fold in later, and sewing. I also make the second seam outside to make it look similar to the original seam of the pants. Now, I'm fixing the waistband to the new waistline. I start at the buttonhole side of the waistband first. Then I can cut the extra waistband at the button side after, and sewing. The last step is installing the button to the new button position. And I finished my vintage short. Here's how it looks. Do you feel the vintage vibe in this outfit? I love how comfortable and fashionable it turns out. Next DIY, I'm making the skirt from the leftover fabric of the left. I unsew the inside seam of the left first. Then I'm getting the maximum length of the fabric, and it's 42 centimeters. It will be the length of the skirt, so you need to make sure it has to be long enough to cover your butt when wearing. It means it has to be from your belly button to over the crotch. After that, I'm measuring the width of the skirt. Make sure the width of its fabric has to be a half of your hip size plus 2 centimeters. I'm overlocking the fabric after cutting, then connecting two pieces of the fabric at one side. Now, I'm folding one length of the fabric inside to create the end of the skirt, then sewing. I fold two sides of the width together, then fix it at the middle of the skirt. At two sides of the skirt, I mark at 4 cm inside. Then I draw a curved line from that mark to the middle of the length. It's the curve of your body at two sides, from your hip to your butt. After that, I wear the skirt on to know how much fabric I need to fold in at the back and the front of the skirt. Then I base on my mark to draw the lines to sew later. I used the leftover fabric of the pants to make a long rectangle with around 4 cm width and 70 cm length, which is longer than my waist size. It will be my inside waistband. I connect it to the top of the skirt at the waistline. After the first seam, I'm making the second seam inside to gather on the fabric to one side. Then I iron to create a fold for the waistband. The last step is installing the button and making the buttonhole at the front of the skirt. And I finished this DIY. Here's my new skirt. It looks simple and minimal with a vintage vibe by the buttons. I hope you like this idea to reuse the men's pants and make yourself new clothes. Subscribe to my channel to get more ideas on sewing. See you next week with another new idea.